Good to have you back with us here on this Monday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Many of you know that I have started a SuperPAC. I am the president of ASMC, Americans for a Strong Middle Class. I think it's long overdue. We're going to get into some heated issues about the middle class in this country. Our focus of the SuperPAC is going to be jobs, healthcare, education, trade, and justice. There's a lot of work to be done, no question about it. But I want to focus now on exactly the numbers that are coming out that shows that wage earners in this country clearly are falling behind as time moves on. And if you remember back, I used to show the vulture chart all the time about where middle class wages and low income wages have been over the last 40 years compared to the top 2% and 1% in this country. Clearly, we are facing a concentration of wealth in America. This, of course, is central to the campaign of Bernie Sanders and the Democratic platform, for that matter, about addressing the middle class in this country. It is the focal point of conversation in every interview that's taking place. Let's go to David Cay Johnston, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, contributing editor with Newsweek. David Cay, good to have you with us.
Glad to be here.
The numbers that you point out clearly show that we are in the crisis mode when it comes to disposable income in this country. What did you find out based on the numbers of the Social Security Administration?
Well, they show that the top quarter of workers, that is, workers who make $50,000 a year or more, are pulling away from everybody else. And we had a big surge in a very tiny number of workers, but it's very revealing. People who make over $50 million a year. The number of those folks went up from 110 to 134. And all of the data show, when you break it down very clearly, that we are not creating enough jobs. We're about 4 million jobs behind where we would be if we'd had a normal recovery and a normal congressional response to the Great Recession. But overall, the higher wage workers are getting all the gain.
So the bottom line here is that we've had 67 months of private sector job growth, but we're still behind in the pace of a full recovery because of the job numbers, correct?
Absolutely. And I mean, in one way, good sign, Ed, is people who work part-time and make under $15,000, their incomes dipped, the number of them dipped somewhat. That would be a good sign if the next group up made more money, because it would suggest people are moving up the income ladder, and that's not what the data shows.
The fact is that we're just not keeping pace with even mild inflation.
Well, no, we are under Obama getting slightly ahead of inflation finally, but the median wage, half make more, half make less, is still stuck in 2014 at the same level of 1999. It's varied within just a few dollars since 1999. And that should be very troubling to us, because that's the best measurement of what's typical, is the median wage, half make more, half make less. To go 15 years, 1999 through 2014, without it budging, Ed, that's a very troubling sign that we're not doing well for workers.
Okay, so the root of the problem is this. Is this connected or paralleled to the attack on labor in this country?
Oh, I think absolutely. One of the most important factors is, and I say this to conservatives all the time, if you believe in market economics, then you must believe in unions, because individual workers, with rare exceptions, do not have any bargaining power. They are ultimately mostly commodities. And unions provide workers with the power to negotiate. Now, that doesn't mean unions are perfect, but of course, why is it we expect unions to be perfect but not companies?
So did the health care law, the Affordable Care Act, change any of these numbers whatsoever to take the strain off of families that were facing a financial ruin because they had no protection?
Well, the numbers themselves here are not going to show that, but I think it's very clear that the Affordable Care Act, especially in terms of people with pre-existing conditions, which is essentially everybody in America over the age of 40, are much better off because of it. It's not, of course, the most efficient, best system that would benefit workers and small business owners, which is universal health care with no out-of-pocket costs. It would save us a lot of money.
All right, so what is doing well in this economy is corporate profits.
Oh,
and it's,
yes.
and it's the wealthy Americans who are investing in the stock market that are riding the tide of the corporate profits. That's where their income is coming from. It's coming from the financial sector. It's coming from the paper shuffling that's taken place on Wall Street. It's not, as some people would call, true earned income, or your analysis of that.
Right. Well, there's almost no place for this surplus money at the top to go but into the stock market, so it is pushing the market up. I'm not sure how stable that is, Ed. I think there's we should have some concern about that. But it is people at the top who have more and more income with which they have no place to invest and which is way beyond any human being's capacity to spend, who are driving the stock market up, along with these automatic systems like 401k systems that millions of workers are in.
Yeah. One of the things that we're going to be focusing on with our SuperPAC, ASMC, Americans for a Strong Middle Class, is this onslaught on all of these state houses where right-to-work legislation has been introduced. It's very clear where there's right-to-work states, the wages are depressed. The upward mobility for wage earners in this country certainly are harnessed quite a bit, and that's just one of the things we're going to be focusing on. David Cay Johnston, always a great resource. Good to have you with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary.
Thank you, Ed.